Hey guys, Jim here. Today we're going to talk about another new creation by Jason Brous at Brous Blades. This is going to be his collaboration once again with custom knife maker Dustin Turpin. This model is going to be the frame lock version of the Insight. It's called the Tri-Plane Insight, which is a 3.5-inch blade, the smallest size that Dustin currently offers. Now, start here with the packaging. Pretty standard fare. This is what we're used to seeing these days from Jason. Nice hard-sided case, good protection, foam interior. You're not going to get knocked around and beat up before you get your hands on it. Pop that open, and inside, as always, you will be greeted with your certificate of authenticity, which includes a signature from Jason as well as the date that it was built. And on the back will be your individual serial number out of the 500 pieces made and a brief bullet point description of your knife. He also includes a pivot tool for your ease of use, so you don't have to worry about what you need to do whenever you need to clean your knife or take it apart or make any adjustments. There it is. Oh, and there is the beauty right there. Now, what's so great about this is if you're trying to get your hands on a Turpin knife, you realize how impossible that is. Dustin does not currently take orders. He doesn't have order books. And the few times his knives make it out there, they tend to be, well, a little bit more expensive than he originally planned. A knife like this would run you right around $875 to $900. His prices are going up ever so slightly, so figure just around in the range of $900 would get you into this knife. However, the only way you're really going to get one is on the secondary market, which means somewhere around the range of $2,000. Yeah, the secondary market prices on a Turpin are astronomical, and that's really why this piece is so important. We talked about the last collaboration they did on the Strife, and it was a huge success and a very well-built knife. Well, they've done it again here, and doing something that Jason doesn't do a lot of, which is a full titanium frame lock. Jason tends to do a lot of liner locks and using carbon fiber or G10 on either side. Here, this is very much like what you would get from Dustin. He calls this the tri-plane frame lock because you have 1, 2, 3 offset planes. All these flat surfaces are broken up with these milled lines and beveled off, done so on both sides. As I mentioned, this is the smallest of the Turpin designs that are in his current lineup. And let me give you a quick size comparison. We'll put the Insight right here in the middle. I'll bring out my Peril. Remember, the next two that are coming out are customs. They're not available as part of Jason Brous's lineup. You get to, actually I'll put the Peril down here, put them butt to butt, and you see that the Insight is only slightly smaller, just a little bit smaller than the custom Peril. And then of course his full-size tactical folder, which of course is the big bad boy right here. There we go. So you have your Peril, you have your Insight, and you have your Strife. Strife being the largest of the trio. Another custom that Dustin makes, which was a collaboration with Tashi, is also going to be a little bit larger, actually quite a bit larger than the Insight, and that is the Flash. So that gives you a size comparison against the actual knives that Dustin makes. And you're also going to notice that it has a very specific design language that really is unique to Dustin. I love his work. I love everything that he makes. Obviously, I have all of his models except for an Insight, just because I've been waiting, and we ended up substituting the Insight for the Peril at the last minute, so I'll have an Insight at some point in my life. This is a really great substitute, let me tell you right now. The action on Brous's proprietary bearing system is fantastic. Very fast, very smooth. His detents, as I've mentioned in prior videos, just keep getting better and better and better. I've had this for just about a week now. I've carried it twice, and it's really super easy to carry. And I want to point out something that we don't typically see from Jason, and hopefully you've already picked it out by now, but it is a blind screwed custom sculpted titanium clip. I am so glad that he did this. Number one, it's not a ridiculous super deep carry pocket clip like he typically does, and that means I can actually grab it and get it out of my pocket easily without feeling the need for a lanyard. And it flows well with the design of the knife and no additional hardware being exposed. We have the exposed hardware here holding the knife together, going through the custom-made backspacer. And another nice little addition right here that Dustin only does on a couple of his models is the inclusion of a press-fit lanyard pin. So when you have the lanyard pin here, you don't have to have a hole drilled through your frame. If you're not a lanyard person, it doesn't take away from the look of the knife. But if you are a lanyard person, it's going to be very functional for you. Here's an example of my lanyard sitting on my barrel, which is done in the exact same fashion. So it's completely unobtrusive and very, very easy to use. Also puts it in a really good position as well. Sometimes lanyard holes in different spots will bring the lanyard down really low and it's banging up all over your knife and your clip and shit. This is a good spot for it. So let's talk about this for a second as far as practicality. It's a good, small, slim, and very lightweight knife. As a matter of fact, it is considerably more lightweight than all three of my custom Turpins. And if I put it in comparison, wow, there's actually a big difference here in the weight of the Flash and the Insight. Now, the Insight does have, looks like, ever so slightly thinner blade stock. It's a slimmer, smaller blade. And let's see, the titanium is about the same thickness. So it's really kind of strange to me how much lighter in weight it really is. Extremely sharp, very, very, very sharp blade. As a matter of fact, it's one of the sharpest Brouses that I've ever gotten my hands on. So I think that Jason is taking all constructive criticism and saying, okay, I'm going to keep knocking them out of the park. I'm going to make them better and better and better. And the one thing some people would say is, well, I had an uneven edge or it wasn't as sharp as I like it to be. This is extremely sharp, and you'll see a nice, even, clean edge. Very well done all the way around. The jimping is not as effective as Dustin's. It's not as effective as I like to have seen. It's functional, but almost feels like, yeah, it's more functional in reverse. Yeah, I can almost completely just slide my thumb across there. It's a little bit more grippy in the other direction. The only real knock I can put on this knife is these milled lines right here have a little bit of a sharp edge. Now, that's not really going to bother people, but it is something that I do need to make you aware of so that you don't get the knife and go, why wouldn't Jim bring that up? Well, there you go. So there's a little bit of an edge there. But as you see, the finish work and the milling that's been done on the titanium is very clean, very precise. It looks great. Really does look fantastic. Now, since I personally do not own a frame lock Insight, I don't know if this is any different, but you do have an external blade stop here on the Brous version. And I know on all of my other Turpins, and I'm just going to take a quick look. Yeah, they're all internal blade stops on all of my Turpins. So, oh, no, there's an external on the Peril. So I'm going to assume that that is the exact same on the custom version as well. What's cool is Jason really does perfectly emulate the customs. For those that may not have seen the video on my Strife was actually the prototype that was sent to Jason to make the production version of their collaboration. And having owned this and the production version side by side, I could tell you that he nailed every single important detail. So I'm going to assume the same was done here. There is Dustin's custom backspacer, and Jason did a really nice job replicating that look and feel. So it's a sandwich of the G10 and titanium. Really nice clean look there. He's done a nice segment of notches here to access the lock. You'll notice also that you do have steel-on-steel engagement at the lock. So instead of just being a titanium frame lock meeting up against steel, you do have steel on steel. That eliminates greatly reduces the ability to have stick, and it's going to prolong the life of the lock up against that blade. Very well done all the way around. It's really easy to drop your thumb in there and access that lock. Very well thought out, very well executed. Clean work all the way around. And I can tell you from carrying it that it is a super easy knife to carry. Being lightweight, being slim, and being smaller means you really don't have an excuse not to carry it. You can wear it with a pair of lightweight shorts, or a pair of jeans, or a pair of work pants, a pair of dress pants. It's not going to matter. It's not big and cumbersome. So there's no real decision making when you go to grab your knife that morning. Sometimes you go, I want to carry this knife, and I love this knife, but you know, I'm wearing lightweight shorts, I'm not wearing a belt, and this is a little bit weighty to carry around. I'm going to notice it, I'm going to feel it, it's going to be obtrusive. This is not going to do that. Doesn't matter how you dress, this is actually going to work out very, very well for you. Now, as always, there are going to be a few different finishes available. I tend to go more toward the satin finishes on Jason's stuff, although I have had his black wash in a couple of knives, and I absolutely love that as well. But this knife, I really wanted it in satin. So Jason was kind enough to satisfy my request there, and instead of just saying, "You're gonna get what you're gonna get, boy," I was able to choose the satin. It's a badass knife all the way around. If you're looking for that perfect everyday EDC, this is a great knife for that. You've got a very functional blade shape, an extremely sharp blade. I haven't tried choking up on it because I've had no particular cutting task that required it. Yeah, you're able to, but there is a little bit of an edge still present there that, yeah, if you've got somewhat big fingers, you're going to get cut. So please do keep that in mind. So you're going to want to keep your hands right behind the flipper tab there. Probably not a big issue for some people, but again, for sake of full disclosure, it is important to bring that up. Nice blade profile here with that very aggressive deep top swedge. Light catches it nicely, and it really does give you a nice two-tone look to this blade. They're going to be offered at a price that's kind of crazy. Jason texted me just the other day, and he says, you know what? He goes, I'm thinking about doing something that I don't typically do. Because usually when you get into a knife like this from him, you're somewhere around the $450, $475 price range. He says, I kind of want to see if I can get it just under $400. Now, don't quote me on that, because things may have changed for him as he calculated his costs and went, oh, that was a nice idea, but I can't do it, and just didn't let me know. But look for this right around 400 or just below. He just opened up the pre-orders on these 3 days ago, so you can go to brousblades.com, get your pre-order there. Otherwise, you can pre-order through his normal dealers like Blade HQ. It is as close as you're ever going to get to having a real Turpin. And I say that because the precision in which this is made, the very nice fast action that's on it, very smooth action, the custom touches like the blind screwed pocket clip, the custom back spacer, he did this right. He did this exactly how you would expect. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. Maybe you wouldn't expect to have that right there. The over travel protection built into the steel-on-steel lock insert. Maybe you wouldn't expect the blind screws. Maybe you wouldn't expect the custom back spacer at this price. But you do get it. Jason's the kind of guy that does his best to over-deliver his product. He tries to give you a little bit more than what you're paying for. Each individual knife is going to be numbered right there on the back side of the flipper tab. So instead of running a whole bunch of billboards all over the blade, it's pretty clean. It's just the Brous Blades logo, Dustin Turpin's logo, and that's it. You'll notice there's no markings for the blade steel. You really don't need it if you've ever seen any of Jason's knives, because you know it's going to be D2. D2 is a really good quality tool steel. The only downside that anybody can ever say about D2 is the fact that it's not the most corrosion resistant steel that could have been chosen. So what do? You get a spray bottle of Aegis Knifeworks Solution EDCI It costs you all of 10 bucks. You put a spray on each side of the blade, you wipe it, you rub it in with the provided cloth, and then you wipe it off, and you're done. That's it. And then you have a blade that is every bit as corrosion resistant as, well, that you could ever dream for. You don't knock somebody for making a beautiful Hamon style blade in W2 or 1095. You don't knock somebody for making a beautiful knife in Damascus, because those carbon steels are going to corrode very, very easily, much more easily than D2 would. So don't use that as an excuse not to buy one of his knives. D2 is phenomenal. It holds an edge for a pretty decent amount of time, actually. You're not really going to have too much upkeep with it. Again, spray on, wipe off, you're done. That's it. It's a nice, simple, everyday knife that looks and feels a lot like a full-on custom. And I think, given the design, the workmanship that went into it, the extras that were put into it, I think that that price of $400 or thereabouts is a really nice, affordable price. But only you can determine that for yourselves. You have to figure out if it's worth that to you. Let's give you some nice close shots on the way out the door here. The only other thing that you're lacking here from the custom is you're not getting one of Dustin's custom milled pivots. That's it. Look at that. Look how deep those lines are. And look at the pronounced tri-plane design. He did a really outstanding job all the way around on this knife. And just like Dustin's work, the back spacer drops into the back side of the knife. Nice matte finish from the bead blasting. And it's got a nice smooth finish, so I think he'd send it in for a light tumble, because it's a little bit smoother than your standard bead blasted finish, because when I hold it up against my flash, you have a little bit more of that coarse finish, and it's also a little bit darker. This is lighter in color, and it's got a bit of a smoother finish to it. Very well done. Jason executed this wonderfully. I know Dustin has been very happy with the prototype that he's had for about 6 months. I discussed that with him. He's very impressed with Jason's work, and I think that in the future, when you're searching for a Turpin design in an affordable manner and one that's more readily available, I think he's probably going to continue doing stuff with Jason, because Jason has done him right now on 2 collaborations, made an excellent quality product, and the feedback from the customers has been great. So this could be, you know, one of those marriage made in heaven kind of things where Dustin always goes to Jason. At least I hope so. I really do. Because Dustin doesn't have time to kickstart his own mid-tech line of knives. It's too much of an undertaking. And let's be honest, it's a huge financial undertaking. It's going to cost you about 50 grand to start up a nice mid-tech line. And, you know, Dustin's had some great things happening in his life. Him and his wife are pregnant right now. Not both of them simultaneously. Dustin himself is not pregnant, but his wife is, and they're about to have a baby in just about a month now. There's a lot of stuff going on in his life, and I'm sure he'd rather spend that 50 grand on diapers and all the other things that babies require, and let Jason put all the work into doing this, because he does do it so well. So there you have it, guys, a production version with 500 pieces being made available of the ever-popular 3.5-inch Tri-Plane Insight. Grab one if you can. I'm going to tell you right now, it is one of the nicest production-level knives I've gotten my hands on. It's an affordable version of getting a custom knife. I don't see how you can go wrong. Thank you guys for watching. As always, please do subscribe to my channel so you get the updates of when something new comes out. Follow me on Instagram if you can over at Jim Skelton TV. And I'll see you guys on the next video.